hit higher speeds on the highway, anything like that, it was a noticeable difference. So
This is just something we supply with the job.
This sounds ridiculous!
So in our last video, a lot of you guys said the Gen 2 Busa is just as fast as the Gen 3. Okay, we'll say dyno numbers, all right? Obviously on the road, track, whatever, different story. But here we're doing dyno testing. So a lot of you guys said, this is stupid. Why would you get a Gen 3 and do these cams when you could just get a Gen 2 and throw some bolt-ons and tune it and make the same power? Lame. Well, I'm here to prove you wrong. So we're gonna show you guys the numbers, and then we're gonna backtrack and show you guys how we came up with everything. So we're gonna go over the numbers really quickly, and well, I'm gonna touch base a little bit more on some of the other numbers, but for the baseline and some of these other guys, I'm gonna kind of go through it a little quickly, all right? For those of you who've already seen my channel, you already know this portion, you already know how I do this. So let's analyze this pretty quickly, okay? So when this bike came in, stock is all get out. This was the baseline, 161 and 99 pound-foot of torque. Super rich air fuel at full throttle. Now this is a typical stock curve that we are seeing on the new Busas, okay? We have this really gnarly hump over. We hear a lot of people complain about this higher RPM, how it just feels like it just loses its gusto. This is why. It's this Euro 5 restriction, the smaller camshaft, the restrictive velocity stacks, you name it. Everything that Suzuki designed this bike to do was basically your low to mid-range, you know, to a little bit of a higher RPM, but at the high RPM, that's where it just deflates and it loses everything, okay? So that's our stock numbers. Now here is the full bolt-on. This is the full exhaust system with the air filter and the velocity stacks, okay? And by the way, we are trying to R&D a little bit on the stock velocity stacks. We have somebody interested, but for those of you with the Gen 3, if you guys are gonna contact us and let us know about the camshafts, and you guys wanna do this camshaft setup, please let us know, because we have some R&D that we wanna test out, and we have some ideas that we wanna kinda test, so it'll save you guys some money on some of these builds. We're trying to save you guys money while still producing really good numbers, okay? Let us know. But anyway, back to the numbers. Here we go. So this was full bolt-on with the ECU flash and dyno tune. We produced a whopping 172, joke, and 103 pound-foot of torque, all right? Now this was the full exhaust system and the BT moto stacks and the Sprint filter. Nice clean AFR all the way through on that dotted line, okay? We had a few little critics on one of the videos. Nice and smooth for you, brother. Everything looks good, everything looks killer. Now these numbers are on the little bit of a lower end, but every bike is different. And this is why we custom tune. This is why I like custom tuning every bike, because you never know what you're gonna see on these numbers, okay? So we're a little lower overall, but you get the gist. We picked up 11 wheel horsepower, which is still very, very large gains. And we also picked up 4 pound-foot of torque, but look at the higher RPM. We actually picked up 20 wheel horsepower at this high RPM, okay? 20 wheel horsepower. That's a pretty damn big gain, considering that all we are is that full bolt-on, nothing crazy, all right? Now here it is with, the only thing we changed was the camshafts, all right? And then we retuned it. So again, quite literally, all we did were the camshafts and a retune. Now look at how much power we picked up over the full bolt-ons. We picked up an additional 16 wheel at a higher RPM. That's really, really big, okay? And these are the drop-in camshafts. These are not an aftermarket set. These are not custom grind. They are a drop-in camshaft. That's really big gains for a drop-in camshaft, okay? Not as much as the other one that we did. We did the other one, it made a 187, 188 wheel. This one only produced 184. Now, we could still be in a break-in period. There could be still room for growth while our gentleman here is out driving the bike. He could pick up more power, okay? 107 pound-foot of torque. So coming in, 161, leaving with 184, peak versus peak. Came in at 99 pound-foot of torque, left with 107 pound-foot of torque. Came in at 144. Now again, this is a higher RPM. We're targeting 10,700 RPM, okay? 144 wheel, leaving with 180. That is a 36 wheel horsepower gain, which is absolutely insane for a Busa. Any of these bigger displacement bikes, that is massive horsepower gains, guys. Massive. Here we'll target mid-range RPM. We're at 7,000 RPM. Went from 132, leaving with 143. So again, we're picking up 11 wheel horsepower in the mid-range. Massive, massive gains again, guys, with just some mild work done to the bike, okay? Very, very impressive gains. Now, what I wanted to show you is we did a bike, a 2019 Busa that has velocity stacks and full bolt-ons just like this Gen 3. Full disclosure, we did not do a set of drop-in camshafts, but it is very well known now that the Gen 3, the big thing that it's lacking is a decent camshaft. Aside from the other things, it's got smaller throttle bodies. It's obviously got a different setup on the velocity stacks. There are a bunch of things that are more geared towards that low end to mid-range RPM, okay? So think about it this way, we're fighting an uphill battle, we're swimming upstream now, and we're trying to make these modifications to kind of undo what Euro 5 emissions are doing to these bikes, okay? Just keep that in your minds. The Gen 2 was not as restricted as the Gen 3. They had bigger camshafts, they had bigger throttle bodies, they have these better setups already. This Gen 2 in the red was one of the healthier Gen 2s that we've done, okay? So we have already done a Gen 3 that made better numbers than this, but I like being fair and I like being open and honest with you guys, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're taking this Gen 2 that has velocity stacks, it has an exhaust, it has the sprint filter, it has a chain and sprocket, it even had modifications that the Gen 3 did not have, okay? I'm trying to give you guys a fair comparison, as fair as I can be. We still made better mid-range power on the Gen 3, we still have a good gap right here, and we still made a better top end power on this Gen 3, even though this is a weaker Gen 3 overall compared to the other ones that we've already done, okay? We still have a 4-wheel horsepower gain right here at the higher RPM. Here is another 4-wheel horsepower gain here. Here's another 5.6. We're at 6-wheel horsepower gains. So we still have a better overall gain comparative to the Gen 2 on this Gen 3, okay? Again, this Gen 2 that we are showing you in the red line, that red line, this Gen 2 on the red line, it is one of our stronger Gen 3s that we have done, or Gen 2s, I'm sorry. It is a stronger Gen 2 that we have done that already did the stacks, a full exhaust system, chain and sprocket kit, blah, 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 blah. We have already done all of that on that Gen 2, okay? The Gen 3 did not have a chain and sprocket kit. We did the full exhaust, stacks, and cams. Oh, and an air filter, okay? That Gen 2, air filter, chain and sprocket, full exhaust system, and stacks, and an air filter. I don't know if I already said that. But the only thing different is are those camshafts. So I wanted to let you guys know that. And again, we have Gen 3s that we have done that have the camshafts that produced even better numbers than this one did. And ultimately, truthfully, my gut is telling me that this particular Gen 3 needs a little bit more time to break in those camshafts and break in the piston rings and whatnot, seat those rings in. So, because the reason why I'm saying that is because on the dyno, it was still gaining about 2 to 3 horsepower with no changes to the tune. We were still kind of gaining power while we were doing some cool downs and stuff like that. So that to me is a clear indication that the rings are getting settled and the motor is still being broken in. So, and it could also be the new camshafts. You also do need to do a break-in procedure with the camshafts. So fresh oil change, things like that. With that Gen 3, we'll probably see that higher 180s to low 190s number that we are used to seeing. So with that being said, let's take you through it. Let's show you how we got the numbers. All right, guys, here we go. We got the exhaust all installed. The boys crushed it over here. Lewis, you did a great job. Notice, everybody, what we wanted to tell you or show you here, we're actually going to block off the O2 sensors because this is something that we are going to remove through the ECU flash. we are going to make sure that we get no interference here from the stock O2 sensors. Here we have, all right, so this is the stock configuration here. Stock air filter, we got everything out. Here's the BT, that's all right. Here's the BT Moto stacks. These are what's gonna go in here and cover this gap here. And then we're also gonna put the Sprint P08 air filter in. So it's gonna sit something like this. We have everything off, as you can see here. We got access to the camshafts. Here are the OEM camshafts. We're getting ready to remove these and swap them out with the Brock Superstock ones. But for those of you who did not see the other video, or who don't know about the other video, last time we kind of went over it, we did do a valve clearance check, and whenever we swapped the cams out, and it turns out that it's actually okay as far as having them set up the way they're set up. With the other cam, you can still get away with it without doing a valve adjustment. However, no matter what, I'm always very meticulous on this stuff, and I always have them checked regardless. I just want to make sure, and besides, we're in there. This is just something we supply with the job. We always do a valve clearance check, because you never know. You could have a slight issue with a valve that came from factory or something that someone didn't catch. So while we're in there, we still just do it just to make sure that the valve spec is still with all in spec. So, all right guys, so the Brock's camshafts are in, and admittedly, I did get caught up with some other work and I was on the phone, but Lewis got them all in here. Here are the new Brock's camshafts. I don't know if you could tell. Now, we do put brand new assembly lube on the camshafts whenever we install new cams. You always want to get it, you know, it's a little extra precaution, guys, but we, in between your camshafts here, the actual lobes, cam lobes, sorry, I'm having a brain fart, you have these cam journals, and in those journals, that's where the cam is kind of rolling on, if you will, more or less. The oil goes in between there, as you know, you got oil film that goes in between there, but on a brand new set of camshafts, you're supposed to put in this assembly lube, and it basically helps break in the new cams with your setup. So whenever you do, there is an actual break-in procedure with camshafts, believe it or not. So whenever you do install a new set of cams, you're always supposed to do a break-in procedure. But anyway, we're gonna, I don't wanna get too much in the way here of Lewis, but we'll let him get back to work. So the camshafts are in the busa. We have it on the dyno, we have it all strapped down. We are getting ready to fire this thing up, warm it up. We're gonna do some runs. Let's see what these camshafts get us, all right? All right, guys, so it's been about a week? About a week. So it's been about a week since we got the 2024 Hayabusa done with the Brock's Superstock camshafts. We have the owner here, Jose, and he's agreed to do a quick little interview with us. So we're just all we're gonna do is just ask him a few just basic questions. How's the bike, you know? So all in all, what was I guess the biggest takeaway from when you first brought it in versus how it's leaving now?
Two big takeaways. First of all was the sound.
Okay.
So the second I left here, people on US 19, 2 cars up, can see me because they can hear me.
Yeah.
So that was one big thing. And honestly, it was just the throttle control was just clean all the way through. Like there was no hesitation. It was smooth. So the bike just reacted.
So before, with the stock exhaust, did you have any hesitations, or was it a little sluggish?
Not that it was hesitating, but it was a little slower to kind of go. So like I can feel the difference, right? You can throttle and you would feel it go.
The acceleration.
The acceleration, but this time around, like it was just smooth all the way through.
Okay, right. Any differences on like a top speed or anything like that, or higher mile an hour stuff?
Yeah, without getting in trouble, sure.
Right. On closed circuits.
So what I noticed is local stuff around town, you know, a little bit different, not major. But when I hit higher speeds on the highway, anything like that, it was a noticeable difference.
Right.
When I needed to pass somebody, completely noticeable.
Okay,
difference.
Yeah, that's a biggie right there.
So that was the thing. Like, you know, you're trying to do a certain speed on the highway, cars are blowing by you, but when you got to pass, that get up and go was insane, just to be able to throttle and go.
To be able to get out of situations.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's interesting you said that, because the very first bike that I tuned for myself, that was my biggest thing. I remember telling my friends. I remember, because they were like, well, what's it like? Because I had 3 buddies of mine. And one guy had it was a built bike from a shop down south. It was nasty. It was a Turbo Gixxer 1000, fully built. It was like 250 wheel on low boost. It was a good bike. It was a nice bike. So he was kind of like, all right, shut up, you don't count, you know. But my other good friend, he had a ZX6R, and he was like, what's it like, man? Like, what's the difference? I said, I don't know how to describe it. I said, but the best thing that I can tell you, or the closest thing is, you know, normally you gotta like downshift to go past somebody, and he's like, yeah, and I go, I don't gotta do it anymore. I just roll into the throttle and it goes, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting you said that again, because I remember going through the same motions. But interesting. So the pickup, the power delivery, the throttle, the smoothness.
Yep, all that was all completely noticeable.
What about the heat of the bike? Do you notice the bike running any cooler, or is it still the same?
No, that's interesting. So I do feel it cooler than it was before, because I also have an M109R, and I feel the heat on the M109. I don't feel that heat over here.
Yes.
So that was the big difference that I didn't think about till you said it, where I don't feel as hot on the bike now after it's been tuned up.
Yeah, so that's another biggie that we do. We do lower those fans, and it makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
It does make it run a hell of a lot cooler. So, and there was one last thing that that he did wanted to go over. The bike potentially is going to be featured in a movie coming up that's going to be released in August 31st.
August 31st, I think it's like a show date. But the movie's called Velocity Kings Ride or Die.
Velocity Kings Ride or Die.
And right now they're all over social media promoting it. So I just happen to be an extra. And I just, I happen to be there for the day. I happened to be called in, and the day I was there was the only 25th anniversary busa that happened to be there. So
yeah, that's pretty.
I'm hoping I make the cut.
So the story goes that, and correct me if I'm wrong here.
Sure.
So the story goes that Jose wasn't even supposed to be there.
Absolutely.
It was supposed to just be him and his son, right?
Yeah, so my son had him and a friend put music together that's going to be featured in the movie, and I went to support my son. And just as I was ready to leave, the director comes up and says, hey, you guys, you grab your bikes and follow me.
Come up.
So I did, and I just kind of followed suit, and it turns out that the way they lined up the bikes, mine was third from the last originally, and it turned out to be the third bike to kind of take off as they were taking video.
Yeah.
So there was other scenes that they put me in too. So
that's cool.
If it wasn't for supporting my son, I wouldn't have been there. I may or may not be in the cut. Either way, I thought it was cool.
Yeah. I mean, shit, dude. I mean, to be in a movie, like honestly, it was, and it's crazy because we saw the announcement on social media. And they were like, hey, if you guys have a bike, come on out to this location between this time, and it was literally like a 2-hour window that they kind of gave us as far as from the time they announced it to the time to show up, and naturally, to kind of load up and go. And it was in the middle of the day, right?
It was in the middle of the day on a Sunday, I think it was, yeah.
On a Sunday, yeah.
Sunday.
So it was really, honestly, it was tough for a lot of people to kind of make it out there. But I mean, dude, right place, right time, right? Like that's crazy.
Hey, either way, I got video. I showed you some of that video.
Yeah,
so just being a part of it on the back end was cool.
Yeah.
But August 31st, I'll know if I made the cut.
Yeah. So the movie's going to be out August 31st. We don't know. Yeah, he doesn't know yet. He is featured on the credits, which, technically if you're on the credits, then we're assuming that he's going to be in the movie, but you don't know until it shows. You don't know, but either way, we hope it does. That'd be really cool, man. We were talking off camera and I was like, dude, either way, that's a cool experience. I don't care who you are. Who cares? You're in a movie. Like that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of people can say that. Yeah. I mean, dude, I can't say that. I can't say, oh yeah, I was in a movie. Not a lot of people could say that. So that's pretty cool. I think that's really cool. But overall, your experience.
Oh man, overall satisfied. I mean, I told you the day I saw your video while I was flying to New York.
Yeah.
And that week I got back, I brought the bike in, and all of you guys have been amazing. I mean, I've already posted about you all.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
Everybody's been great. The experience is good. You tell me everything you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Everything's been solid, man. So you were a good find for me.
Yeah. Nah, man, we appreciate it. Like seriously, it always goes a long way. I always go back to the roots, where I started, and it's like, I didn't go to school for any of this. I literally picked this up and ran with it. And it was kind of like a self-taught, just let me just run with it, see what I can do, see if this is even worth my time, you know.
It's worth your time.
And that was the biggie. So to hear things like that still to this day, it's like, all right, we're still on the right path, you know.
You guys do great work here.
But no, we appreciate it, man. Honestly, thank you so much. Like, I'm serious, still to this day. All right, guys. Well, I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video. I know you guys are enjoying our other videos. If you could, please drop a comment, a like, subscribe if you guys haven't already. Tell us what you think about this video. Tell us what you think about the comparison between the Gen 2 and the Gen 3 Busas. Do you like the Gen 2 versus the Gen 3, or do you like the Gen 3 versus the Gen 2? Let us know down below. If you guys haven't already, please view our website at www.provenpowercycles.com, or give us a shout if you want to see your bike featured on the channel. Let's get some more Gen 3s in here. Let's get some more testing done. I love doing this stuff. And again, we do have those velocity stacks that we want to do some testing on. So please, if you have a Gen 3, reach out to us. We'd love to do some testing. We will work it in the price. We will help you out. We want to hook you up, and we want to see what this does. So we want to start modifying these again to help save you future customers out there some money. With that being said, thank you again. We always appreciate you guys. We'll see you on another episode.